For more on this election and how the second round presidential poll might play out, we're joined by Eric Farnsworth. He's Vice President of the Council of the Americas and America Society. The organization studies politics and other issues affecting the Western Hemisphere. I don't know that you want to go out on a limb and predict things because people were making a lot of predictions before this election. It looked like Silva, a lot of people were saying, was going to come in second. That whole thing kind of crumbled as we got closer to the election. What happened?
There's a saying in politics that you don't want to actually predict anything before votes are actually taken, and I think that's a lot of what happened here. Lots of people thought that she would be the second place candidate and that she would go forward now into the runoff with the incumbent, Dilma Rousseff. Obviously, that proved not to be the case. I think there were a couple reasons why. The first was that polls in Brazil tend not always to be the most accurate. They oftentimes undercount the underprivileged, and it's really that class, the lower classes and the middle class, that are the primary base of support for the incumbent candidate, so that's one reason. The second reason is that Marina Silva was really a surprise candidate. She became the candidate of her party on the death of the head of the ticket, Eduardo Campos, in August. So she wasn't supposed to be the candidate, if you want to put it that way. And because of that, she wasn't really well defined. So people didn't know who she was in some way. And so the opposition, her opposition, defined her in a way that ultimately proved to be very negative and turned off a lot of voters to her, and she slipped to third.
And it's interesting because Eduardo Campos dies in that plane crash. She kind of jumps on the scene. She's kind of the darling, but then it just fades away. But the question still remains. She got around 21% of the vote. Is she likely to endorse either of the candidates? And if she does, what kind of impact might that have?
Well, I think there's definitely a scramble for her endorsement and, frankly, for her supporters as well. I saw an analysis today that said for Aécio Neves to win in the second round, he would have to he'd have to keep his own supporters, but then he'd have to take 70% of Marina Silva's supporters to overtake Dilma Rousseff, the incumbent. So that's a pretty high bar to clear.
High unemployment, painful budget cuts when Neves' party was in power in late 90s, early 2000 or so. Is that going to be a turnoff to voters? Will they look at that as an issue, or is there much distance now that he may not have that mantle that he has to carry with him?
Well, I think you're exactly right. The economy is going to be the issue that is deciding, first of all, decided this round, but also is going to decide the next round. And you already see both candidates going at each other. One, the incumbent Dilma Rousseff is presenting Aécio Neves as the candidate of the rich, the elite, the business community, et cetera. And so you do have that overhang, the tax cuts for the wealthy, and everybody else pays more. Whereas Aécio Neves is trying to say about the incumbent president, too much state intervention in the economy, too sluggish, not enough job creation, too much giveaway in terms of state subsidies for people who may not need them, and needs to concentrate more on economic reform. So you really have a difference of opinion, you have a difference of ideology, and the Brazilian people actually have a real choice that they're going to have to make on October 26th, and that will determine in large measure the direction that Brazil goes.
Any likely choice? Who do you think is going to win?
Well, I'm going to take my own advice. I'm not going to make a prediction. I will predict that either Dilma or Aécio Neves will win.
I gave you that prediction as well. Don't do it, and you did. So you stuck to your guns. Eric, thank you so much.
Thanks.